Hello everybody. In this video, we're going to address another commonly asked question in geometry, and that is, what is the longest stick that can fit in a box with a certain set of dimensions? I've drawn a box here for you. It is 6 by 8 by 10 centimeters, and here is the longest stick that can fit in that box. So let's find out what the length of that stick is. In order to do this problem, we're going to need the Pythagorean theorem, which says c squared equals a squared plus b squared. It is the relationship between the legs and the hypotenuse here of a right triangle. So we're going to use that twice. Now, if you stay tuned to the end of the video, I'm going to give you a shortcut that can be used to do problems like this, and we're going to develop it. But for now, let's work this particular problem. To begin, let's use the Pythagorean theorem with this triangle that is lying on the bottom of the box. I'm drawing in the hypotenuse here, and here is our triangle. Can you see this triangle lying on the bottom of the box? Okay. Now, one leg is 10. The other leg is 8 centimeters, and the hypotenuse, well, if it's okay, I'll just call that P. Is that okay? All right, so we have 8 squared plus 10 squared is equal to P squared. That is the Pythagorean theorem applied to this triangle that's lying on the bottom of the box. So let's find P. We have 8 squared, that's 64. Plus 10 squared is 100, and that's equal to P squared. So 164 then is P squared, and P then is the square root of 164. Okay, so that's our P. Now, I would like to apply the Pythagorean theorem to this other triangle that is standing in the box. Can you see this triangle that is standing inside of that box? All right, I think I will call its hypotenuse D because that is the length of the stick, okay? So let's apply the Pythagorean theorem again. This time, one leg is 6, the other leg is P, and the hypotenuse is D. So we have 6 squared plus P squared is equal to D squared. But we already know what P squared is. P squared is 164. When we square this square root of 164, we get P squared, which is just 164. So we have 36 plus P squared, which is 164, is equal to D squared. Now 36 plus 164 is 200. And we take the square root of both sides to find D. So D is the square root of 200, which is approximately 14.1 centimeters. And that is the length of the longest stick that can fit in our box. Now, I promised you a shortcut. So I have labeled our dimensions as A, B, and C instead of 6, 8, and 10. And again, we will apply the Pythagorean theorem twice. So let's first look at the green triangle that is lying in the bottom of the box. The legs of this right triangle are A, B, and the hypotenuse is P. So we have A squared plus B squared is equal to P squared as the Pythagorean theorem here. Now, if I look at the pink triangle that is standing in the box, well, its legs are P, C, and the hypotenuse is the length of the stick, D. So I have P squared plus C squared is equal to D squared. Now, I'm going to make a substitution. I know that P squared is A squared plus B squared. So in place of P squared, I'm going to insert A squared plus B squared, and I get A squared plus B squared plus C squared is equal to D squared. All right, now if I solve for D, let me put it on the left side here. I'm going to take the square root of both sides, and I get a squared plus b squared plus c squared. The square root of that is D. And this is a shortcut for finding the longest stick that can fit in a box like this. So we have extended the Pythagorean theorem to 3 dimensions. Now let's see if our formula works for our original problem. I believe A was 8, B was 10, and C was 6. Now here's our formula. It is the Pythagorean theorem extended to 3 dimensions. A squared plus b squared plus c squared equals d squared. So we are plugging in our numbers. 8 and 10 and 6, and that is equal to d squared. All right, the formula says I can take the square root of both sides to get my d. Let me put my d over here. And I get 8 squared plus 10 squared plus 6 squared, which is the square root of 64 plus 100 plus 36. And that is the square root of 200, just like what we got before. And that's approximately 14.1 centimeters. That is the length of the longest stick in our box. So I appreciate very much that you're watching, and I hope that you will like, subscribe, and comment, and I will see you in the next video.